Sewing Butterick 5814 was actually a fun challenge. It built up on a lot of the skills that I learned previously and definitely introduced some new skills such as working with spiral steel boning. Spiral steel boning was actually not called for in the original pattern. It actually called for a basic plastic boning, but I took it upon myself to kind of experiment with this, and my findings on it is it's very, very, very difficult to cut. I actually used the wrong set of pliers to do this. I kind of took some tips online afterwards saying that I should be using some sort of wire cutter or something more like bolt cutter to be able to cut these easily. Now, to avoid getting too sharp of an edge on that spiral steel boning, it's really important to put a little tip on there, and you actually squeeze it over the top to encase these sharp edges. Think of the little tip as like a piece of aluminum foil that covers the end. It's not too hard to put on there. It's actually pretty easy, but just making sure that it doesn't wiggle off is super important. I also used a silk organza layer to be able to create an additional layer in the lining in order to keep the boning in place. Definitely added a little bit more bulk, but it was pretty easy to sew through with a zipper foot. So the pleating in the front of the bodice, I actually started out by doing tailor's tacks across the front. Because the fabric I used was a pretty expensive crepe that was imported, I didn't want to use any of the usual tools to pierce the fabric for any of the markings that I needed to do. So I did a row of tailor's tacks in order to be able to mark everything that I need to see. They're actually pretty easy to put in, but they do take a little bit of practice, and I like how quickly they remove. I mean, it is a lot of little threads to deal with, but at the same time, knowing that your fabric is not going to be damaged is a huge plus. Another handy tool that I've really come to love, especially when I'm working on certain fabrics, are tailor's chalk. It's actually super useful to have. Definitely recommend purchasing it. It's pretty cheap to buy, actually. I used the tailor's chalk to mark where I was going to be placing the twill tape on my dress, just because I did not want any sort of stretching over time, especially with something that I was going to be working so hard on. And the technique that I'm actually using is a little bit different than how twill tape is usually used in terms of stabilizing a seam. I actually made it shorter than the seam and then made everything shrink to fit. And that way it actually cups the body, just like this whole bodice will do, where it drapes across the front. Now, when the seams across the front are put together, just remember, always make sure to use your seam ripper on the back. You do not want to ruin your pretty fabric, so always unpick your seams from behind.